Hello, this is Mr. Huff, and I want to go through the first 10 pages of the IPC notebook. On pages 1 and 2, it should be all about safety. On page 2, I expect to see the lab safety expectations affixed to the page. It should be glued down or it should be taped in, and it also needs to be signed. On the left page, on page 1, at the upper part, you should have an outline of your hand and 5 important safety rules summarizing the 20 rules for lab safety. So on the left side, you would have a trace of your hand and 5 statements. At the bottom of page 1, you should have a small map of room 107 that identifies important safety features like the eye wash station, the emergency off button, sprinklers, fire extinguisher, the safety shower, goggles, the vent hood for noxious fumes, and things of that nature. On pages 3 and 4, at the top of page 4, you should have notes about how to use the interactive notebook, about how we are going to use the right side for notes and the left side for your work. And then some rules about using the interactive notebook. At the bottom of that page, you should have a flowchart that describes the scientific method. On page 3, you should explain in your own words every step of the scientific method. Moving on to pages 5 and 6. On page 5, you should have 2 tables stuck in here. The base units for the System International and common prefixes used in System International. You should have noted that we have kilometers and centimeters and millimeters underlined because these are typically the prefixes we will use. I didn't say the prefixes, sorry. Then underneath this, we did some conversions in class, converting 60 inches to centimeters and converting 60 inches, 5 foot 10 inches to meters. So this gives us 2 examples of how to do conversions. On page 5, you should have 4 conversions. In class, we converted a 96-inch board to meters, a 3,600-pound Mustang to kilograms. We converted 5 hours into seconds, and we converted 1,416 miles, the distance between Midlothian and Disneyland, from miles into kilometers, showing how we would use cancellation to make sure that we had exactly the right unit when we completed our conversions. On page 8, you should have a handout with some definitions on it. And in class, we filled out all of these definitions or identified the terms that go with each of these definitions. So that should be taped down onto page 8. Then on the opposite page, page 7, we broke these into 3 main categories: motion, matter, and scientific methods. On that page, on page 7, you should have a web starting with those words, matter, motion, and scientific methods. Go through the list of vocabulary words and draw a connection between those words and the terms matter, motion, and scientific methods. For instance, matter is related to SI because we measure it with the System International units, and then density is also related to matter, and then related to density are volume and mass. You might put words like momentum and velocity and displacement and acceleration connected to motion. You might put words like model, scientific theory, scientific law, bias. You might put those with scientific methods. This is really you showing how you understand these words working together. On page 10, you should have the insert for the IPC Unit 1 notes. These are all from Chapter 2 in your book, and we explore speed and velocity and acceleration and centripetal acceleration and momentum and things of that nature. So all of the main ideas are on this piece of paper with a few notes that we talked about in class. On the opposite side, on page 9, you should answer the 9 questions that are listed at the bottom of this note page on page 9. Notice on number 3 we talked about a distance time graph can tell us the speed if we calculate the slope of the line in the distance time graph. That's one topic we didn't touch on in class or in this note page, so you'll need that. So that's a quick overview of the first 10 pages and what I expect to see on each page.